Come on, Tom. Hello, and welcome to Tom Reads Books. Hello, and welcome to Tom Reads Books. My name's Tom, and this is my YouTube channel dedicated to all things books. I'm an actor, and I'm currently in a show, and I set up this channel back at the beginning of the summer to try and document all the books that I'm reading. I've got a bit more time in my days to read, and I wanted to document my reading journey and to talk all things books. I love reading, and I watch a lot of booktube content as well, and I just wanted to have a bit of fun and sort of document my reading journey. So that's what this is. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about 9 books I've recently read and 9 books I'm excited to read. I've tried to record this video many times. I also wanted to upload a lot more regularly than I have been. The idea was to upload a video once every week. And I was doing really well when I first started, and then it all came crumbling down. And anyone who has made content before, I'm sure, will sympathise with how easy it is to sort of go off track right at the beginning of the endeavour. But no fear, I'm back, and I'm sorry. Not that you probably care. You've probably got more pressing things in your life than me uploading a video every week. But still, I'm sorry. Here is some books that I've read recently. Actually, just before we do, I'm actually going to tell my excuses about why I haven't been uploading as regularly. I have been reading a lot, but it all started about a month ago when I got food poisoning. That's my first excuse. And the show that I'm in is quite physically demanding, and it's not the sort of show that you can have food poisoning and sort of blag it and you'll be okay. I had to take some time off. And just when I started to feel better, I had my first week of holiday as well. And I did try and record stuff for the channel when I was away on my holiday, which I've got some clips off, which I'll try and show now if I remember. But yeah, it just didn't go well. I was having too much of a fun time. And I was recording on this old camera and it wasn't in focus. And after a while, I was like, what am I doing? Just enjoy the holiday. And the holiday was great. Me, my wife and my father-in-law, we went up to Cumbria to climb Scafell Pike, the highest mountain in England. My name is Tom Wainwright. And I'd heard tell of this walker called Alfred Wainwright. I didn't really know much about him, but I learned a little bit about him. And he's sort of famous for documenting all the fells of the Lake District. It's just the most beautiful county in England, I think. It's just amazing. And he published a series of books of all these hill walks, mountain walks, just general walks all over the fells. And he hand drew all these mountains and these hills, and then hand wrote the sort of routes you take and how you ascend and how you descend and things like that. And he had them published with his own handwriting, which I think is really cool. And we climbed Scafell Pike, which is a Wainwright, it gets called. In fact, there are 214 Wainwrights. And my father-in-law gifted me this. It's a summit, tick and date list of all 214 fells in the Lake District. We climbed Scafell Pike, which is a big one. And that was the first one. And you've got this map of all these different walks. And yeah, it's so cool. And he set me the challenge to try and complete this. It will probably take a lifetime, but I'm going to start. We have started. We started off with number 1, Scafell Pike. And so I'm going to put the date we climbed it here. And I get to tick it off here. And then, plan other trips. But yeah, that was really fun. And that was my first ever Wainwright. And that meant that I got to go to the little gift shop in Keswick where we were staying and got this. My first Wainwright, which is a cute little sew-on badge or iron-on badge, which I should do something with. I probably won't, but yeah, I should do something with it. So that's where I was. And then I tried to record this video again, and oh my word, the first thing I think was the sound didn't work. My phone was connected to my Bluetooth headphones, literally 45 minutes of me talking, couldn't hear a thing. That video was too long. So this will be a little bit briefer. And then the next time I was so frustrated that I was just not in the right headspace to make that video. So I was just like going through books in a really sort of not negative way, but slightly flat way. And I was like, that's not good content. That's not good. So I deleted it. Actually, it was probably fine. But anyway, I have attempted a few times. I'm here in the front room, which is a bit different. But there's building works happening in the place where we live. So it's been really noisy. And in the little office room where I normally record, that is literally where the builders have their lunch, outside that window. So I've moved in here today. And yeah, we're going to get started with 9 books I've read this summer and 9 books I'm excited to read later this year. And we're going to start by looking at this, my book journal. And this book journal was gifted to me by my sister, my oldest sister, Cara. It says Tom's book journal here. She's actually an author, and we will be talking to her on the channel, or maybe another channel, but that's to come later, really soon. But she always buys me book stuff because she knows I love books as well. And it's a lovely little quote on the front, I think from Jane Austen. When I have a house of my own, I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library, which I believe is from Pride and Prejudice. Not that I've read Pride and Prejudice yet. But yeah, I keep a little note of all the books I've been reading in here, and then I give them a rating out of 5, star system out of 5. That kind of doesn't really mean anything, but I do it anyway. So I'm going to talk to you about these books. I won't go into too much detail, he says, but I'm going to just whip through these. And reason why is because I've talked a lot about these books already. So I'll just give them little summaries. I'll read out a few little things I wrote down briefly. If you want to find out any more about these books that I've read, please just message me, drop a comment and a like and a subscribe on the YouTube. But just let me know and I'll try and sell it to you in a different way, because I love getting people hyped about books and encouraging people to read them so that we can chat about them. So the first book I read, not this year, but at the beginning of the summer when I started this YouTube channel, was The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong. I've already talked about this. I put this in my top 10 books of all time, a video I made just after I read it. You could have a go at me for having a bit of recency bias, but you know what? I'm sticking by it. It was written by M.L. Wong, a teenager. It's Japanese-inspired fantasy fiction. Half of the book is definitely fantasy. The other half is epic family saga, and it's some of the most beautiful writing. You follow a mum and a son, and it's so beautiful. It's really exciting. There's an amazing battle sequence that is really traumatic, but just amazing. And what happens after that, the repercussions of that, and the way a family deals with grief. Just amazing. 5 stars I gave this. So that was the first book I read at the beginning of July. And then a few days later, I probably should have picked up something a little bit lighter because Sword of Kaigan really got me. It was pretty heavy. I decided to read Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, the queen of grief, in my opinion. This woman she just tears at your heartstrings. It's brutal. This is the story of a woman called Anne, who was actually Anne Shakespeare, William Shakespeare's wife, and it's about her life and about grief as well. I won't say much more than that. It's about grief, and one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. I'm a massive Maggie O'Farrell fan. I say that I've only read 2 of her books. I just really like her. It's beautiful. It's pretty hard, but yeah. When I was trying to record this video a previous time, I ended up rage quitting the video and just deleting it because I decided to talk about the film that is coming out of this with Jessie Buckley playing Anne, and I couldn't remember the Irish actor's name. I've done it again. I couldn't remember. Oh, I've done it again. How have I done that? Paul Mescal is playing William Shakespeare, and I'm not normally that bothered about watching the films of books I've read, but you know what? I'm really excited to read it because because I love this book. So that was the second book. I also gave that 5 stars. And then if I consult the journal, what was next? We had, oh my word, It. Stephen King's It. I've already talked about this book in a previous video. This is a massive book. It's a little old cheap paperback copy I've got. It's over 1,100 pages. Stephen King, I think, is one of America's greatest writers. The way he just gets you to imagine what life is like in Derry in Maine in the 50s is incredible. And he follows these 7 different kids, and it also jumps forward to the future. And this book was written in the 80s, so it jumps forward to the present day, as it were. And the way he does character work, it's just amazing. But really, his world building, the way he makes you feel like you're there. I felt like I'd lived a childhood in late 50s in America. I felt like I'd lived it. Pretty scary book as well. You meet Pennywise the Clown pretty quickly, and he's one of the greatest villains, isn't he? Pennywise the Clown. Even if you haven't seen the film or read the book, you kind of know what he is. I love this book. I didn't give it a star rating. I think it was because there was a chapter near the end which really freaked me out. It was a bit of a sexual thing involving a kid, and like I just didn't see the point of it, and it really took me out of it. It really made me not enjoy this epic journey. So I was a bit disappointed about that. And I don't know, I'm not a massive prude or anything, but I just sort of was like, what are we doing? It's so awful. It doesn't get talked about much on YouTube when people talk about this book. At least I haven't seen many people talk about it, but it really freaked me out. Apart from that, it was amazing. I gave it a 4-star, I think, on my Goodreads, but I forgot to put a star in my little journal. That was the next book I read. And then I'll talk about these very quickly because I've done a whole video all on these books. I then jumped into Pierce Brown's Red Rising trilogy, or the first trilogy. There's another 3 as well, and the final 7th book is coming out next year, I believe. I read these. This is sci-fi. I think I'd consider it like young adult. It's YA sci-fi, I think. I love these books. I gave this a 5-star when I first read it. I read this in a day and a half. I read Golden Sun also in a day and a half, and then Morning Star in about 3 days. And I think I read them too quickly. I was just absorbed. I couldn't stop reading it. I was so obsessed to find out what happened next. They are super fast paced. It's sort of this Roman inspired sci-fi. It's about this sort of hierarchy system, and the golds are at the top, and then there are the reds at the bottom, and it's about Darrow, our protagonist, rising up and trying to bring down this structure that is keeping people almost in slave-like conditions. And he read our Darrow. He becomes a gold. He infiltrates their system. If you're not really a sci-fi person, and I wouldn't really consider myself a sci-fi person, pick up Red Rising. It reads like a fantasy book. I loved it. I think the only thing I would say about them is that I think I didn't massively care for some of the characters. And I think, there's some real fan favourite characters. And one of them in particular, who's a real fan favourite, I just found him so annoying. That's the only thing. But Pierce Brown did such an epic job. And I'm going to be picking up the 4th book next year to sort of get me ready for the final book that's coming out later that year. So that's what I read. And I read these guys. When did I read them? I read them in mid-August, I believe. I gave them all 4 stars. What did I write down? I wrote down the word lush. Super fast-paced, great twists. They actually are. There's some great twists in those books. Wonderful. Then the next book I read was this by Susanna Clarke, Piranesi. So far, I've given all the books 5 stars or 4 stars. This is another 5-star. I love this book. Everyone says when they talk about this book, don't talk about it. You just got to read it. The less you know, the better. And they are right. So I will not say anything. It's super short. I went in with very high expectations. And actually, I think halfway through, I was like, chill. Like, just enjoy the book for what it is. And then I started to really love it. I think I was expecting it to completely blow my mind. It's a bit of a mystery, this book, and you sort of discover along with the protagonist as you go along. It's gorgeous. It's really cool. And it makes me want to read more Susanna Clarke as well, but more of that later. Love this book, 5-star. And then as we were approaching the end of August, I picked up one of my favourite books of the year, The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is the first book in the Hierarchy series, very similar to Red Rising. I think James Islington even said in an interview that he was inspired by Pierce Brown's sci-fi epic. This is also Roman inspired, but this is fantasy. And the difference between the two is that I'd say that Red Rising, it's sci-fi with hints of fantasy. This is fantasy with hints of sci-fi. I loved this book. The characters were amazing. Our main protagonist, Viz, he's fantastic. He's great. But actually, you know what? It's the characters around him that I really fell in love with. And I won't do any spoilers here, but he has a patron who takes care of him, Viz, near the beginning of the book. And I'm just a huge fan of that character. I just love them. I can't wait to see what happens with them. The second book is coming out in November. It's called The Strength of the Few. That's one of my most hotly anticipated reads of the year. I'm so excited to read it. So yeah, this is The Will of the Many. What an epic book. I love this. The ending is a bit conflicting for some people. Please read this book. Please tell me you've read it. Please talk to me about this book, please. After that, I then listened, and this is where I start breaking away from the 9 books, because I've gone through, how many have I gone through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 books so far. There are some other books I read as well, but we're going to keep it as 9 in the title anyway. I then listened on Audible to Dungeon Crawler Carl. Lit RPG fantasy, something I'd never heard of before. It's basically like a video game. And the premise is this guy called Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat called Donuts. They're outside at 2 a.m. He's trying to get her out of a tree. He's wearing his pants. He's like, get out of the tree. And suddenly aliens invade Earth. And anyone who is inside a structure, like a house or a car or a bus shelter, instantly crushed to death. And anyone who was outside, not under a structure, has the opportunity to run to one of these hundreds of thousands of like doorways that have opened up all over the globe. And you go in and you go into this crawling dungeon game, and they enter level 1. And basically you follow these 2 characters, the cat Donut and Carl, this sort of average American Joe. And you follow them as they go on this sort of video game-like quest. It sounds really silly. It is really silly. It's very funny. It's very stupid. And I kind of didn't vibe with the first book. I was like, I really enjoyed reading it because it was so different from everything I'd read up until that point. But I kind of was a bit like, oh, it's not really for me. And then near the end of the first book, I just felt this like, oh no, there's something quite cool here. There was a bit of political intrigue. And that's something I love in my books. I love a bit of political intrigue. And actually, The Will of the Many and Red Rising has got some great politics in it as well. So I was sort of on a bit of a hype with that sort of backstabbing political drama. And actually, Dungeon Crawler Carl, only about 2% of it, but it had this little feeling of like, oh, something's going on here. And it kind of kept me interested. So I listened to that and I was like, okay, nice. I gave it 4 stars. Right after that, I loved it so much, I downloaded the second Audible book. It's by the book's by a guy called Matt Dinnerman, and it's narrated by a guy called Jeff Hayes. Such a great narrator. It's so fun. The studio who do all the work for the audiobook is amazing. They do such good sound stuff in the game, and all the characters have really unique, interesting voices. It's really cool. So I listened to that. I also gave that a 4-star. That was called Dungeon Crawler Carl, Carl's Doomsday Scenario. And I also gave that 4-star. I loved it. And then I read a really weird book. This was a book. This was the beginning of September now. And I basically was like, okay, I've bought too many books recently. I need to read what I've got on my shelf. And I decided to literally pick up the first book that I saw on my shelf. And it was this. Dumbledore, The Life and Lies of Hogwarts' Renowned Headmaster, an unofficial exploration by Irvin Cateman. This is written by like a mega fan of the Harry Potter series who was very present on like Harry Potter forums back in the day of the Harry Potter fandom. And he's had this book published in this quite cool hardback book. I've got no idea where this came from, whether it was a gift from someone who knew that I loved Harry Potter or something, I don't know. But I picked it up and I was like, what is this? And basically, the author goes through each book and talks about Dumbledore's motivations and tries to answer the question, who is Dumbledore? Is he this all-knowing, all-loving father figure? Or is he a Machiavellian, scheming prince? And I think, you have to read the book to answer that yourself. I've actually found it quite interesting. I got a little bit cringed out by it. I think I was a bit like, okay, it's quite cool to study a character that you've grown up with and you're interested in. It is quite cool, but I kind of got the point quite early on. I was like, well, he's a bit of both, like he's incredibly loving And I thought it was quite interesting, the thing about, well, could Dumbledore have saved lives if he'd been more honest with Harry when he was younger, saying, listen, like, you're going to eventually have to die. And could he have, saved other people by, not trying to protect Harry's feelings? That was quite interesting, but I kind of got the gist of it. I gave it 3 stars. Very weird book. I've never really read anything like that before. But I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I've ticked it off the TBR list. After that, I read, actually, this could be my favourite book of the year. I mean, I thought The Will of the Many was, but The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. This was a book that was recommended to me by, just make sure I'm recording still. Yeah, great. This was a book that was recommended to me by the brothers Gwyn, who are 2 brothers who have an amazing booktube channel. Do check them out. And I can't remember what the link is, but I think James Logan used to be an editor for a big publishing house, and basically was like, oh, I've written this thing, and he's published it, and it's done really well. It's a great book. I gave it 5 stars. I read it on Kindle, so I haven't got the physical book here, but I'm going to chuck up a picture here or here about The Silver Blood Promise. And briefly, what it's about, well, it's about everything. It's got everything, this book. It's about this guy who made a mistake in his previous life, and he is sort of paying the consequences of it. He's turned to sort of gambling and drinking and being a bit of an idiot, to be honest, until someone from his past turns up and says, hey, listen, your dad was murdered. And he's like, wait, what? And she sets him off on this small little quest to try and figure this out. So it's a bit of a murder mystery, and he heads to this new area, this new city, and he meets this 11-year-old girl who's this street urchin and thief, and her name's Flea, and she's excellent. It's a really character-led book. I love that in stories. And the world didn't feel like too much. Sometimes starting a new fantasy novel, you've got the map at the beginning, and you've got to learn all about what the different nations mean to each other, and what the system is, and what the magic system is, and it can almost be a little bit too confusing and a little bit of hard work. This was so easy. He just let you imagine a lot of stuff, and it was led by the characters, and it was really funny. It's a really English book. It's very witty. I just loved it. It had a heist in it. It's got some fighting. It's got a bit of magic, but mainly the lovable characters, the witty relationship they have. It's just so nice. So I gave that book 5 stars. If you want to find out more about it, I think the brothers Gwyn talk about it briefly, and you know what, just go and watch their video, or ask me and I'll just tell you what they said in that video. It's a great book. After that, and this is into September, I think we're still in September, I then listened to Dungeon Crawler Carl 3, and that was called Anarchist's Cookbook. I also gave that a 4-star. What did I write? Fun, a bit of heart in the book. I won't say why. The political intrigue was sort of amped up a little bit, but the relationship between Donut the cat, who does have the ability to talk by this point, and really is a great character, their relationship, it kind of meant more. Something happens in it, and it just kind of felt like, wow, they really need each other. And that kind of gave the whole book a bit more heart, the whole series a bit more direction. And I just got gassed. I was like, I've got to listen to the next one. But before I listened to the 4th book, which I'm currently listening to now, I did read something very strange, or at least I started something. But this was my first DNF, did not finish, of the year. I rarely don't finish books. But I saw a book in Waterstones called Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu, I think. And I read the premise, and it sounded like this really gritty dystopian fantasy novel. And I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And then in the bookshop, someone I was chatting to was just like, one of the workers there was like, oh, it's based off Harry Potter fan fiction. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, the author had written this really successful Harry Potter fan fiction based on a Hermione romance, which I've now learnt means Draco and Hermione if they got together. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, it's called Manacled. And he was like, you could probably find, online a version of it to read. And I was like, that's great. That's really weird. So what, like, she wrote that, it did well online, like people clicking and reading it. And the publishers have been like, do that, but like rip out the characters and all the Harry Potter stuff, but keep the same story. And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'll go and check this out. So I found a copy. it is one of the worst things I've ever read in my life. There might even be some beautiful prose in that book, but it's essentially a rip-off of The Handmaid's Tale mixed in with Harry Potter in this post-apocalyptic world that's sort of looking. The story starts with Voldemort having won the final battle, having actually killed Harry, and it's just awful. There's like this enforced breeding program. There's horrible themes of like rape and torture, and it's just awful. And Hermione's the main character, and the things she has to go through. I think I had it on my Kindle. I managed to send it to my Kindle. I think it was about 1,000 pages. I got about 300 pages in, so I did pretty well. Like, I got into that, and I was going, this is awful. But I saw a few comments online going, listen, a lot of people drop out early. You've got to wait for like the reveal, the twist. And I kind of realized after a while that there is no twist that's going to justify how awful this is. Like, I didn't need to read any of that. I got the gist of it. It was awful, but it just was so repetitive and awful, and was just like glorifying how awful it was. And I was just like, I'm not here for this. So I cancelled it, and I ended up Googling the twist, and I was like, yeah, sure, I get it. Great. I'm sure some people out there are like, no, it actually gets really beautiful near the end. For me, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And that's kind of put me off reading Alchemized, which has an amazing cover. And I was like, oh, that looks quite cool. And now I'm just not interested. So yeah, that was it. I've kind of forgotten how many books that is. But I'm now listening to the 4th dungeon crawler Carl, which is called The Gate of the Feral Gods, which I'm loving as well. I just love that series. It's so fun. It's so fun. But those are the books I have read. How many minutes are we on? Oh my God, 26 minutes. Guys, I'm telling you, I've got better. I'm quicker now. I'm quicker. This is better. I'm gonna have a break. So those were 9 plus a few more books that I have recently read over the summer. And here are 9 books that I'm super excited to read later this year. I'm maybe going to do a video next week about cozy books for autumn. A lot of the booktubers I follow have done like top 8 books to read when it gets cozy, and when, you know, everything turns a bit orange and people are lighting candles and it's all quite cozy. I'll probably copy that video and do my own version of it. But in the meantime, here are some books that I'm just so excited to read. The first one is this, Tom Shippey's The Road to Middle-earth. Tom Shippey is regarded as one of the great Tolkien biographers, and he's sort of quite an interesting man. I actually read the first 14 pages, and yeah, he talks about having really copied Tolkien's life. He's also a lecturer, or was a lecturer, at Oxford, doing ancient language and Norse mythology as well. That's not what Tolkien did. It's close to what Tolkien did, but anyway. Yeah, he sort of talks about the impact that Tolkien had on literature. I think the reason why he wrote it, I mean, a lot of people now, they talk about how everyone is influenced by Tolkien when they're writing fantasy, or even just books. You know, this guy was amazing. But I think at the time, there was a lot of people going, back in the late 50s and into the 60s and 70s, people were just going, oh, Tolkien, it's a bunch of like fairy stuff, and it's not real writing. And he was like, you're so wrong. You have no idea that this guy was actually built, you know, sort of giving England its mythology, crafting this world. It wasn't just The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. There was an entire world behind it. And it was only after, when the sort of the Silmarillion was released and all the other works by Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, it was only later that this world sort of was, you know, able to read about it. And so he talks about this. And yeah, I'm really excited to read it. It is quite dense. It's a proper academic study. So actually, I think I started it intending to finish it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not ready to like properly switch my brain onto that. But whenever it gets to sort of September and it gets a little bit cozy and autumnal, I think I sort of kind of go, oh, I want to read The Hobbit. I want to read Lord of the Rings again, which I do quite a lot. But yeah, this is going to be my challenge, to read this before the end of the year. That's the first book I'm really excited to read. The next one, this was a gift from my wife. We had our 1-year wedding anniversary, which is the gift you have to give our paper. So she got me a bunch of things, including a book. And she got me Mick Herron's Slow Horses. We have loved the Apple TV TV series of it. And yeah, I'm super gassed to read this. It'll be the first season basically in this book. This is the first one. Apparently it's super, the TV series is super accurate to the book. And yeah, I think what's the name of the actor who plays the young spy? Jack Lowden. I think my wife is slightly in love with him, which is maybe a bit of a problem, but you know, that's okay. But yeah, she got me this book and I'm really excited to read it. Then after that, I mentioned earlier the Brothers Gwyn booktube channel. This is John Gwyn's book. This is their dad, The Shadow of the Gods. This is proper Norse fantasy. It's got a dragon on the front as well, so therefore it means it's good. I'm so gassed to read this. This is apparently amazing. So many people are just like, you have to read this book. There's three of them in the Bloodsworn trilogy. That's what this trilogy is called. This is the first one, The Shadow of the Gods. This will probably be a November or December read when it gets really cold. That's what I want. Maybe January. We'll see how we go on. But yeah, super gassed to read this book. And then after that, I really want to read this, John Williams' Stoner. I've already talked about wanting to read this book before. This was recommended by one of my favourite booktubers. I don't even know his name. His channel is called Books Are Sick. That's all I know about the guy, but he's really cool. And this is one of his favourite books of all time. Actually, I think this is his favourite book of all time. It's about the beauty of a simple life. That's all I know. But one of my friends said she read it not too long ago and was like, it's 5 stars. Give it a read. So this will probably be my next read. Probably. I'm currently listening to the Dungeon Crawler Carl books, so this will be very different. But yeah, this I'm super excited to read. Next up, when I was on holiday, I went to a little charity shop, and for £1.50, I bought this, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And I've only ever seen the film, and that not the old film, the more recent one with Florence Pugh, Timothy Chalamet. Is it Saoirse Ronan? Yeah, Saoirse Ronan. And yeah, one of my favorite films of all time. I saw it about 3 times in cinema. I thought it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, I got this for £1.50, and it's the really cool Penguin Classics edition. How cool is that? So this could be a really nice little autumnal read. This will probably appear in my autumnal reads video as well. But yeah, excited to read that. Next up on the list, I've got this. This is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This has been recommended all over TikTok, all over YouTube. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, their lives are changed profoundly and forever. That's all it says. Apparently this is amazing. This is any bookshop I go into, it's always on the like must-read pile of books. So super gassed to read that. And then also, when I was on holiday, my wife very kindly bought me a big chunky book, and it's this, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. The main reason why I picked it up was because it has a dragon on it. That means it's good. It's got a blue dragon on it, and it's a cool cover. Isn't that a cool cover? By Bloomsbury. Oh, great cover. And I read on the back of it, it said, by the Sunday Times, their review was, the next generation of hit fantasy fiction, a feminist Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings, and women are great as well. Don't publish that. Cut that out, Tom. But yeah, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I know nothing about this book, and I'm just going to go in blind. I'm going to go in blind. This could be my next read. I might leave Little Women for December. I want to read this book. It's really chunky, and it's got that great sort of floppy page feel. Oh, it smells good as well. That's a good book, I can tell. And then finally, I've got some books behind me. I've got here The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. The brothers Gwyn, one of the brothers, his name's, I can't remember, but he's been reading loads of vampire fiction. It has to be fiction. He's been reading lots about vampires, and yeah, he said this is like one of his favorite books of all time. It's a lot about colonialism in America, It's about the murder of Aboriginal tribes, I believe, and it's sort of like a murder mystery that goes back in time, but it involves vampires. And apparently, it is gruesome. So yeah, I'm excited to read this book. It's a bit scary, and I think that's a great thing to read in October, the month we're currently in. So maybe this is my next book. Just stop. And then next up, I've got this, Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall. It has been a hot minute since I have read any historical fiction, and my favourite period of history. Well, I think it is, yeah. I love the Napoleonic history at the minute. I am loving. No, my favourite period of history is the Tudors, and this is a book that follows the life of Thomas Cromwell. And I've never seen the TV show. I've never read these books. I've got all three now, all these really cool different hardbacks that I picked up from charity shops, and I'm so excited to read them. I'm so excited. So yeah, Wolf Hall is also on my to-be read list. I'm not going to say when I'm going to read this. And finally, this is not in the 9 because I've done my 9, but this is going to be a reread. This is going to be a reread of mine in December, I think. This is George R.R. Martin's A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I've read all of the Song of Ice and Fire books, the Game of Thrones books, and this is my favourite one. This isn't. This is sort of like a prequel book, and it's almost like a kid's sort of fairy tale storybook. It's got these beautiful drawings on the inside, and it follows this hedge knight called Dunk, and also this little boy who's bald called Egg. Dunk and Egg. You follow them through different little stories throughout the book, and it is funny, charming, lovely, and just beautifully written. And it's this cool old copy I've got. I think I picked up off eBay years ago. And I'm going to be giving this a reread. So guys, that is it. That is all the books I've read this summer and all the books I'm excited to read later this year. There's probably some more books that I'm going to be reading before the end of the year as well. Mainly the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. I can't really stop listening to them. I feel like I can also read another book whilst I'm listening to them. They're sort of my, like, when I'm commuting, when I'm cooking, when I'm putting the wash on sort of books, and I just love them. They're so fun. But that's the video. How long have we been going on for? Oh god. 40 minutes. I tell you what, that's much better. The last one I did about an hour. So that's much quicker. If there are any books here that have piqued your interest, let me know. Tell me what you're reading, and thank you for your patience. I'm sorry this video has taken so long to get out. And let me know what you're excited to read this autumn as well, because that might help my video that I make next week as well. But all that's left to say is thank you so much, and please like, subscribe, and comment. Comment, like, subscribe. Bye.